All right, welcome new pilots. This is Captain K-Man coming to you here on our first training video, maybe our only training video that we need. This one is regarding our Newsky application and website. This is what we use to track all of our flights and just run the virtual airline in general. It's pretty intuitive software, pretty easy to use. I think it's some of the easiest software to use compared to the other things that we've used in the past, like SimBuddy and FS Airlines and VA Base. We're quite happy switching over to this new software here, and hopefully you'll enjoy it too. So without further ado, let's get into this. We don't want this video to take up more time than necessary. So here we go. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you here, this is the website itself, but most of this, the application itself looks exactly the same pretty much. There's a few extra features inside the application that's not available here on the website. But for the most part, this is everything that you're going to be seeing and doing, whether you're inside the app or you're using the website. The only thing the website cannot do is track the actual flight. You have to have the application running for that to work. All right, so this is the default view after you've signed up and you got yourself an account. Um, you'll come in here, you'll log in, and this is what you'll be presented with. And you can join multiple airlines if you want and all that other good stuff. This generally shows you the last flight that you did here. This shows you if you already have a flight booked, it'll show you that flight here. If not, you can click book flight right here. There's multiple ways to book flights here. That's one. You can also click the airplane icon up here in the upper right hand corner if you want. And there's one or two other places to do that as well. So we'll start on the right side here real quick. This little switch here allows you to go to light to dark mode. I prefer dark mode myself. Anytime you get a message from the VA or from a fellow pilot using the VA's communication system, it'll appear here in your mail profile up here, and it does show you how many pending messages are waiting with a little red number. This, of course, is booking flight. This is your name and your profile picture. If you click on it, this allows you to set up your profile and change the various settings. We're not going to go through the settings. Those are all self-explanatory. You set those up however you want. And all right, so moving on here. Um, so the airlines that you've joined currently um, will show their news feeds right here. So if you're you know, part of more than Solaris Air, you'll get all your news feeds, or they're all down here. Right now, I only am part of Solaris. That's all I need to be part of as the CEO. So here you can see all the last, news entries that we've done. At the very top of your screen here, you'll have your local time, and then you'll have a very useful UTC time, which is how you will file all of your sim brief paperwork is by UTC or Zulu time. Then on the left here, we of course have the main menu all the way down. Now we'll get into the main menu sections here, but let's just go down through this stuff here real quick. If you want to support the project, you can do so by clicking on the link here. This will take you to the support page. This is an extremely important section that you need to read. This is the Newsky Wiki. This is going to tell you all about how Newsky grades your flights, the different airframes that can be used on the various simulators, and a few other useful pieces of information regarding the application and how it works. I'm going to allow you the pleasure of reading all of that on your own. We don't need to go over that. Terms of service and privacy, click on this if you want to know all the ins and outs of your terms of service and the privacy while using the Newsky application. Highly recommend you join their Discord if you run into any glitches, bugs, or if you just want a place where you can chat with fellow pilots to get tips and tricks and all that other good stuff. Definitely join their Discord. And then probably the most important link on this page right here is the download app. Be sure you have the app. You must have this or else you cannot track your flights. As I said earlier, the website does not do the tracking. You have to have the app to do that. Now, the good thing about the app, unlike previous VA software that we use like VA Base and FS Airlines, you do not need any third-party programs to go along with it. You don't need FSUIPC, you don't need XPUIPC or any other type of connectivity software. All you need is the application. It will do everything else for you there. And that application does work on both Microsoft 2020, 2024, X-Plane 11, and X-Plane 12. With a caveat, little tiny caveat for the X-Plane flyers out there, it does require one little additional step that you can set up in the app. I have not looked to see where that's done because I don't fly X-plane anymore. But all you need to do is point the Newsky app to where your X-Plane's executable folder is. So basically, it needs to know where your X-Plane's installed, and then that's it. You don't need any other software. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of how to use Newsky and all the different features here. Home button, self-explanatory. That brings you back to this page right here that you're looking at right now. My Airlines, if you click on that, this shows you all the airlines that you're currently a member of and what your current role and status is within that. If you're an airline manager, you'll have the manage button here also. To go into that airline to check out all your stats and everything with that airline, you just highlight it and then click on it here. We'll go in there in just a moment. The next menu option is My Flights. This is your flight logbook. It shows all your previous flights. It has a plethora of information here with your flight number, who you flew for, where you flew out of, where you flew to, the times, and most importantly, who your passengers were, how much cash you made, and what your final pilot rating was on that. This tells you if it was closed or if it's pending review or if it was canceled or any other uh, statuses that Newsky can tell you about. You have these little eyeball icons here next to each one. This brings up the More Actions menu. You click on that, and then you get a detailed view of that flight. I don't think there's actually any additional actions on that eyeball, not for this menu here. But anyway, this shows you a much more detailed view of everything that you did. Again, when you flew it, where you flew it from, where you flew it to, who you flew it for, what aircraft you were flying, and then all the statistical information of that flight. It also shows you your lateral flight route, and it shows your vertical flight route, and it gives you your landing analysis when you came in for a landing. You can also pop these menus open down here, showing your actual sim brief paperwork that you filed at the time. Keeps a record of that for you, and then you have the complete flight data recorder of that flight here. We use this whenever we're having to do a investigation. If somebody like crashes a plane or something, the FDR is extremely detailed in Newsky and allows us to pull a lot of information so we can tell just exactly what went wrong with the flight. So as you can see here, lots of events were being tracked all the way down. The next menu item here is My Awards. Airlines can set up different tour awards. Hopefully there's more award types in the future, but for now, the only ones that they got available are a tour type. If you've joined those, these are all clickable. You can click on one, go into it, check it out, see what it was. This allows you to check your progress. So if you're already in progress with one, say you're on a multi-leg tour, and you're on leg 3 of 5, this will show all your tours right here. In fact, let me go back here real quick. We'll go to the hub hopper. There we go. That's a multi-leg flight here. These all had to be flown in order. And we did all that. And this shows you down here who completed it all, what date that they completed it on. Oh, I see Fred got that done. Hey, Fredo, we're going to have to give him a shout out here. This just lets you know, if you got the tour done or not. When you finish a tour, it does show up in your profile as a little shiny badge. It puts the little badge up there in the corner for you. And every one of these tours will show you what kind of minimum ratings required, when it started, if it has an end date, the name of it, who it's for, and of course what the challenge is, and then all of your flight stuff over here. If you're doing a tour, if you're going to do an award, you will actually, this is one of the additional places where you book from, you will actually book your flights from the tour page. There'll be a little book icon here, kind of similar to this airplane icon up here, down each one of these legs. And so you will book your flight directly from the actual award page. That's how you get that done. All right, and that's pretty much all there is on this page. Moving on to the map. This is the moving map. This shows all the current traffic that is airborne at the moment. Anything in green is a scheduled flight. Anything in blue is a freeform flight. So, and the reason why they differentiate that, and you'll see that in the wiki, is scheduled flights earn 25% more cash for the virtual airline that you're flying it for, and you have 10% more passengers willing to get on your plane. Thus, green flights are much more profitable than free flights. Free flights, of course, are nice because you can fly anywhere in the world with any airframe that the airline has available to it, and and just free flight, do whatever we want. Scheduled flights, these are required. You have to fly those from the airport where the airframe is currently sitting and get it done. Oh, look, Hey, there's one of our guys. I just clicked randomly. Solaris Flight 151 being flown by Captain Maggio currently. He's in the 777. He's doing himself a long haul here. But you can see all the vital statistical information about the pilots when you click on them. Tells you where they're going, what they're flying, who they're flying for, and all that other good stuff. The airports themselves are clickable as well. Let's zoom in on one of our main hubs here. DFW is our main hub for Solaris Air. If you click on the airport, boom, you get this little pop-up piece of information. And there's another place where you can get this information also. So let's go over this real quick here. So this is DFW International. This is the current METAR data. This is a unique feature that we've never had before in our other VA software that we used in the past. This is how you know where your passengers want to go, right? And this tells you where the cargo wants to go. So basically, you take a look at these spikes, and this is your supply, demand, and direction. So basically, a lot of passengers want to go northeast, and a lot of passengers want to go west, right? That's how you read this particular chart. Here in the cargo universe, not a whole lot of cargo runs currently going west or south, but here you can see everybody wants to go northeast with the cargo. So flying routes that go in that direction tend to yield much better financial results at the destination airport when you get there. So if you care about making the most amount of money before you take off, this is what you're going to want to look at first when making your decision on where you want to fly to next. All right, so that's pretty much it for the main menu. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of why you're actually here. Solaris Airlines, what does that menu look like? So click on My Airlines, click on your airline, and this will bring you to the home page of the airline that you've clicked on. In this case, welcome to Solaris Air. This is our beautiful, lovely website here, built in to the Newsky application, which is very classy and very nice looking. Let's see, basic information on this screen. Of course, we got our header up here. Welcome to Solaris. This is the airline's current rating, not your rating, but the airline's rating. This basically averages up all the pilot ratings together and comes up with this figure here. We always want to strive to keep this above 9 in the airline if possible. That's what we want to do. If it starts to drop below 9, we're going to have some questions for some very bad pilots. So don't be on the bad pilot naughty list. Make sure you're doing your best to make sure you maintain at least a 9.0 average. This is, of course, our home base, Dallas-Fort Worth International. This is how many pilots currently fly for us. There are 13. And this is the airline's current activity level. We are currently very active, which is nice. You won't see the manage buttons here, and I don't think you see the message button either. This is management stuff here. Although I think you might see the message button. I don't know. I haven't seen, I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen this from a pilot's point of view, just from a manager's point of view. So I think this is where you send messages back and forth to each other or respond to messages that have been sent to you if you don't come up here and click on your little mail icon. But anyway, every time you come into the airlines page, you'll always get the home page here, which is the very first tab lit up here. This just shows you all the good stuff. Here's all the links currently for our home page, the new pilot training handbook, which will be linked here very shortly. The new pilot training video, which you're watching right now, will be linked here very shortly. And then, of course, a link to our Discord. The next one down here is the statutes. This is a quick glimpse at the standards and the code of conduct, and we also have our rank page down here as well. So if you want to know what you have to do to get to the next rank, that's where you can get that information from. This is the feed button. You click on this. This will show you all the current news feeds. This is the same thing that shows up on your home page when you go back to your home page. All your feeds show up, but this is only for our airline. And the only person that can do feeds right now are staff and officers. This is not a place for you to post messages. This is a place for you to read news about the current airlines. The next icon here is the trophy icon. Again, this is the awards page. It looks exactly like my awards. This is where you can get in here and see what current tour awards that we have available for the airline. Click on it and go file your flight plan through that award program if you want to actually get that badge on your uniform. Next up here, this is a list of all of our pilots that are currently active. You can go to any pilot that's currently in here. We'll pick on Captain Aldred here. You can see right now he has an 8.70 average right now. He's flown 4 flights for us with a 6.1 hour flight time. He's flown approximately 2,381 nautical miles for us so far. And he has flown for Solaris and Newsky Academy. A lot of y'all will have Newsky Academy in here also. If you don't want that in there anymore, be sure you go to the Newsky Academy and you leave that academy. You don't need to stay in there once you've completed your first evaluation test flight to make sure that the software is working. You can actually unjoin that airline. So if you only want to see Solaris in there, go and get that done here. This is your type ratings system here. It shows you right now the only aircraft that he's flown on the last 4 flights. He has flown all Boeing 737s. Um, and that's where he's got his average rating of 8.7 on that. As you fly different airframes, more and more of these 3-bar graphs will start to show up side by side. We don't really do a type rating tracking system here, although we could if we wanted to, where you have to qualify on different airframes. For Solaris Airlines, we expect you to know how to fly the airframe. We're going to, scouts honor you. Make sure that you know what you're doing. Make sure that you know how to fly the aircraft so you don't get dinged and banged up and get suspended from the airline. Let's go take a look at Captain Frickle here, Captain Frick. So you can see here, he's got his award here up in the corner. He's flown almost exclusively A320s or A319s. He's done a lot of A319 flights here. I think it lumps them all together, 319s, 321s. And 320s are all lumped together as the same airframe because basically they are. They just got a little bit different landing characteristics, but for the most part, operations in the cockpit are exactly the same. You can see all the flights that he's gone on here. Anything lit in green, of course, is a scheduled route he's done. Anything that's gray is a free flight for him. You can see all the passengers and cargo. You can see where he had a horrible accident here at Boston Logan. Unfortunately, that was a fun sit down interview with him to figure out what happened, what went wrong with his aircraft. But yeah, he smashed it up pretty good. Cost the airline almost $1 million in damages and all that other good stuff. But it is what it is. Now, here's the good news, and you'll read this on the wiki page, but I'll go ahead and tell you right here. The rating that you have, right? So he's got a 9.17 rating right now. This rating will change over time, not just because you're flying better, but because it only tracks the last 30 flights. So this flight that gave him a 0.0, eventually that's going to drop off and it will no longer be affecting his primary pilot rating, which is great. We love the fact that that happens. This allows not only the pilot to actually get improvement to the point of actually becoming a perfect 10. There's ability to always be a perfect 10. This also means the airline can achieve a perfect 10 rating at some point. If by some miracle every single pilot flying for us had a perfect 10 score, the airline itself would have a perfect 10. So that's kind of how that works there. All right, let's go back a page here. The next button here, this is the fleet. This is all the aircraft that we are currently leasing. And the way that we have this set up here is we have the aircraft's registration. You will have the aircraft's manufacturer, developer from the simulator. The next piece of information is you will have the engine type that's meant to be flown for this aircraft. And we actually get down all the way to the fine nitty-gritty of what wingtip type should be selected on your aircraft and what kind of passenger cabin should be configured for your flight. All right. Right now, they recommend that everything be single class, until they get the software a little bit more developed. It's still under development, has been for many years. The guy that created it, he works on it in his spare time, but it's robust enough to do exactly what we needed to do for our purposes here. But so that being said, when you go and pick an airframe, try to get this as closely matched as possible to the actual aircraft that's here. That's because this right here is exactly what's going to go to SimBrief, and it's going to pull that profile for the aircraft on SimBrief. So if you end up picking a dual class, or maybe you pick an SL wing type, or you take the CFM out instead of the IAE, there may be a slight discrepancy in your zero fuel weights and other little bits of information. And if the discrepancy is too high, it will cause problems with your ability to book the flight and actually be able to take off. Anytime you book a flight, and we'll show that here in a little bit, anytime you book a flight, always be paying attention at the bottom here after SimBrief, the SimBrief window over here will pop up when it closes. Be sure it's all green down here. If it's green and then it suddenly shows you yellow or red text down here, it's trying to tell you that there's warnings or that this flight is incapable of being, you can't take off with it. You have to make adjustments. This is usually because you've overloaded the aircraft. Just a word of warning, Newsky will always slam the sliders to maximum based upon supply and demand. That may not be the best thing for the flight you're doing. If you're doing some kind of crazy, 2,000-mile flight, you're not going to be able to slam that thing to max. You're just not going to be able to, because you have to put all the fuel on board the aircraft, and there's just not going to be enough room on there for you to put a ton of cargo. I almost said the S word, a ton of cargo or passengers. So be sure you, the pilot in charge of the flight, are paying attention to your weights and balances, and that you have not overloaded the aircraft with too many passengers or too much cargo. If you need a quick review of just what the limits are, you have this little scale icon next to each frame here. So here's the Phoenix, and it's an A320. We'll click on this, and this tells you what the empty fuel weight is, what your max zero fuel weight is, what your max takeoff weight is, and what your max landing rate is. And since we're talking about that right now, this is something that's been catching a lot of our new pilots. Newsky has the most robust grading system I have ever encountered in any VA tracking software. I mean, this thing tracks everything, including your centerline touchdown distances, your threshold touchdown. It tracks your weight and balances down to the kilogram. So you need to pay attention when you're coming in, when you're doing your approach briefs. You need to check that your zero fuel weight is going to be below your max landing weight. We've had a lot of pilots get dinged on those first few flights until they learn the hard way that they were overweight. So you got to be careful. Um, this is kind of cool because most of the time you don't have to worry about going into hold patterns or stuff like that. But if you catch it like a really strong tailwind or something, you're going to have a lot of extra fuel on board that you're not supposed to have on board. So you may need to end up requesting a hold from VATSIM, or if you're on something like Say Intentions, you may need to request a hold to burn off some more fuel before you can bring the plane in safely for a landing. Landing overweight is very bad because it causes penalties, not only to your score, but it also costs monetary penalties to the entire airline because of maintenance and stuff that has to be done to the aircraft due to heavy landings and stuff like that. So pay attention to that stuff. I can't stress enough. Pay attention to your fuel weights now. You're going to need to be more of a pilot and less of a sim pilot with the Newsky system, which is great because to me, that's more immersive. All right, moving on here. We have the stats here for each aircraft. In the fleets page, this is going to show you where the aircraft is currently parked. This is important information if you're going to do a scheduled route because you can only fly a scheduled route from an airport that has an aircraft parked at it. And when you do that scheduled flight, wherever you take the plane, that's where it's going to end up in the fleet status page here. So if I remove this plane out of Palm Springs and take it down to Phoenix, when I land successfully and I file the end of flight, this will turn into KPHX. And so the next guy that comes along that wants to fly the plane will have to fly it out of Phoenix. This tells you how many times it's been flown. That's the 3 there. That number in 0 tells you how many times it's been flown on a scheduled route. So that means this fly-by-wire Neo has been flown 3 times, but all 3 times was a free flight. It wasn't an actual scheduled route. This shows you how many hours are on that airframe. So this aircraft has been airborne for about 7 hours total time. And then this shows you the cabin layout. And currently all of our cabins and all of our aircraft right now, just for ease of use, everything is set to single class right now. So be sure you set your flight model up in the simulator as a single class passenger aircraft. That means in the PMDG, you need to go change it to single class. In the Phoenix, you need to go change it to the 1-act class, and so on and so forth. Make sure you have the economy version of the aircraft on board. All right. You can actually get additional information, I think. Maybe hang on a second. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. Not the best thing you want to hear your trainer saying. Okay, no, there's no additional information here. All right, moving on. This is the operations center. This shows you our flight route map. Boop, 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 boop. This is the flight route mapping system that Solaris Airlines is currently operating under. As you can see, we are a United States-based domestic courier service with some flights out of state into Mexico, the Caribbeans, and Hawaii and Canada. We are not an international airline. If you want to fly international routes, you're going to have to do that in free flight mode. Um, this currently also shows you where all of our airframes are currently parked in white. So you can see here, there's multiple aircraft currently at DFW. There's multiple aircraft up here at JFK, LaGuardia. And then we got, of course, Mr. Joe here has currently got the 777 outbound, taking that plane over to LAX, I believe is where he's taking it right now. So that's what you're seeing here. This is also where you can come in here and you can actually click, boop, on these airports and get a little bit of information here. If there's any aircraft available, it will pop them up over here. And I believe you can book directly from this menu. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, there's like many different ways. Even I'm still learning the software a little bit, all the little extra features that you can do. Um, but I think you can do all that. But that's all this screen is actually designed for. It's just to show you our current route map. If the airline actually expands and grows to the point where we start pulling in additional personnel that want to do more like cargo flying, or if we need to like open up a European division for people in Europe and stuff like that, we can actually do that on this network. But what we end up having to do is we create a whole new airline. So we can actually create multiple airlines. I don't have to just stick here and run just Solaris Air. I can run 2, 3, 4 airlines if I needed to. For right now, though, since I live in the United States, we're a United States courier right now. So for right now, we've only set up our U.S. operations. Back in the old school days, when the airline was super kicking, we're hoping we get it there again. We used to have 5 separate divisions. We had a private pilots or a corporate jet pilot group. We had a South American flight division. We had a Japanese flight division. We had Europe. And then we had, of course, the cargo division, and then, of course, the Solaris mainline here. So hopefully, maybe one day we can get back to that again. That would be great if we could get that active again. Here's hoping. All right, moving on here. We've got flights. This is the flight log, kind of similar to your own personal flight logbook, but this is the flight logbook of the entire airline. This shows you every single pilot's flight that's happened. And some of the information won't be available to you guys. Like, I don't think you get detailed information about their scores. I think for you, it'll show it blank here. Only crew chiefs can actually see what other pilots are doing. And they do this, of course, to keep people from ribbing other people, razzing them and, saying you suck and, trolling and stuff like that. So um, you won't see any of that information. You can click on the little eyeball icon to get, a little bit more detailed information about what they flew and how they flew it, similar to your own logbook. But yeah, that's kind of the basics of the main menu system and how you kind of get around here and all the information that you can look at. Next up, we'll show you how to book an actual flight real quick, and then we'll show you how to close that flight out once you're airborne. All right, so let's go to the next section. All right, let's talk about booking a flight. You are ready to book a flight. You're ready to get out of here and go soar across the skies. Oh, well, I'm glad you guys just heard that. That is a inbound message. So that chime you just heard, that's very important. That lets you know, and that comes out of either the app or the website if you have the website open, or if you have the actual app running. When you hear that chime, it means you have a new message pending here. So I have one unread message sitting in the inbox right now. Let's go take a look at that real quick. When you go to check your messages, you'll see everything from your different airlines here across the top, and of course vertically here as well. You can see here I have one new message pending here for Solaris Airlines. That's from Mr. RC Burst. He is responding to a message I sent him earlier. There's his little welcome letter that we sent him earlier. He's our newest pilot that just came on board. And he's got it. He's looking over the scheduled routes. So here's something cool to mention right now, since we're about to go into the app and how the app works and all that. We are actually able, the officers of the airline are actually able to send you messages while you are in the air in the simulator. It's kind of cool. If we come in here and we type out a message to you, blah 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 blah, and we click the send button, that will actually go into the app and it will actually display at the bottom of your simulator. Um, as a little tiny text message, and you'll of course hear that chime go off also in your ear. So be listening for those chimes. If you're in the air and you're flying and you hear that chime go off, it could mean that a officer is paging you while you're on your flight for whatever reason. We have done that before on a couple flights just to test it out, make sure it's working here. And but anyway, that's kind of a great example of how the communication systems works. All right, we got a little sidetrack there. Let's get back to the Solaris main page here, and let's go ahead and book our first flight. Again, there's multiple ways to do that. You can book up here. You can go to your home page, and you can book from here. We're going to do my standard operating procedure of how I do it. We're going to assume that we're going to be doing a scheduled flight. Because remember, keep in mind, you must do at least 2 flights a month for the airline to stay current with us. One of those has to be scheduled. So we're going to go ahead and do a scheduled booking. So this is how I do my standard operating procedures when I am getting ready to book a scheduled route. The first thing I will do is I will go into my airlines, choose Solaris Air. I will come down to the fleet page and I will take a look at where all the aircraft are currently parked. Alternatively, you can also click on the operations menu and get a quick overview also of where all the planes are currently parked. So I can see we got planes at DFW. There's a plane sitting over here at Denver. There's one sitting over here at Tucson. There is one sitting over here at Palm Springs. We got another one over here sitting in, what is that, Baltimore? And then we got one at LaGuardia and one at JFK and one in Boston. So there they are. So I'm going to come down here real quick. We're going to go to our home base in DF Dubs and take a look at our aircraft that are sitting here. So here they are. There's an A321 that is the Phoenix IAE engines with the WTF wing fences. And then we've got the other, we got an A320 also with that wingtip stuff sitting there. And there they are. There she is, available aircraft sitting at this airport. I am curious. I'm going to click on this real quick. Boom. Yes, I was correct. You can book directly from there. So there's your fourth place that you can book from. I don't normally book from there. I just try to find out where the aircraft are, but I might actually start doing that. See that? We're learning together. All right. Well, basically, we're going to end up in the same place anyway whenever we find out what aircraft we want. We're going to end up on the same menu here, but I will go back again. Well, let's do it a different way. I'll come over here, go Solaris Air, and I'll be like, okay, there's a plane at DFW because I looked in the fleets and I saw that there's a plane at DFW here. I want to fly the Phoenix A320 today. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I can come up here, click book flight. Once you do that, you're presented with your flight type. You have 4 flight types right now: free flights for both packs and cargo, and scheduled routes for both packs and cargo. There's also a list here of ongoing charter markets. Charter flights, I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe if you fly these, it's bonus cash. I'm not entirely sure how that works yet. I haven't looked into it because we're not really a charter airline service, but obviously they are time sensitive. And I do notice that it's a lot of European stuff, probably because this software was developed by a European company. So, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a scheduled packs. We don't have any scheduled cargo yet because we don't have a cargo division anymore currently, but there are plots and plans to bring a cargo division back online here. Just not quite yet. We're not quite ready to get there yet. So let's go ahead and schedule our packs here. You'll be presented with all the airlines that you are currently a member of. Obviously, I'm only a member of one, so we're going to click on Solaris Air. And now we're going to be presented with that familiar looking page from just a moment ago, except now we're not actually at the airport anymore by directly clicking on the aircraft. So we need to take it a little step further. we're going to take a look at everything that's at DFW. So we're going to come over here. We're going to type in KDFW. And we're going to come down here and we're going to see that we have all these different routes that are currently available for DFW. And you can see what aircraft are currently available for that flight in green here. So you can see here, I flew this flight last night here. I landed at Amarillo. So technically, there's a flight from Amarillo to DFW right now. It's not necessarily showing you the departure airport. It's just showing me every airport with the KDF or every route that's got the KDFW ICO address in it. So let's say we want to take this aircraft on a journey to, Vancouver. So we can see it is flight 218. It is clear to depart right now. We can choose the 320 or the 321 for this flight, and it is a PAX route. It is approximately 4 hours in flight duration length. These numbers, these flight durations are pretty tight. The last 5 flights I've done, I have arrived exactly on time when I was supposed to. So we spent a lot of time working with artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, to help get these numbers as accurate as possible. And it seems to have done a very good job. So huzzah! All right, so we're ready to go. We're going to do this 4-hour flight here. So we're going to click on the right. You can see that it lights it up over here. It's all lit up in green. We're going to click on it. And now we're presented with the filing information for this flight. We can see here that this is going to be Solaris flight 218 out of Dallas-Fort Worth International heading to Vancouver, Canada. We need to choose our aircraft here from the drop-down menu. So if you click, a list of aircraft become available. You can also type in. So if there's like 80 different aircraft parked here at DFW, you could just type in A321 or B738 or whatever, and it would pull up just those aircraft. We're going to go ahead and take the A321 out today. Once you choose an aircraft, the estimated payload menu will then populate. As you can see, sliders are slammed all the way to the right. This is not necessarily going to be a good thing. If we can manage a full aircraft, more power to us, because it means more revenue and more money and more reputation for the airline. But I tend to play it safe, especially with the Airbuses. They don't tend to like to be stuffed completely full. So I will usually sacrifice cargo first. I'm going to go ahead and pull 7 units for the cargo off. And as you slide, you can see that the zero fuel weights are changing in real time down here. All that information down below is exactly what's going to go over in the sim brief. All right. So it is a good idea on flights that are medium range to long range that you do reduce the cargo weight on board the aircraft in order for your paperwork to successfully file into the SimBrief system and deliver back to Newsky a valid flight plan that can be flown by the aircraft with safe weights and balances on board. So we can see here our zero fuel weight is going to be 164,646 pounds is what we're looking at. Passengers are currently rated at 37,000 pounds worth of passengers. Their luggage is coming in at 11,000 pounds. That's another 7,000 pounds of cargo and all the other good stuff. Required weight, required fuel for the departure today, an estimated 24,897 pounds of fuel. All right. The next box down here is your departure UTC time, which is conveniently located right up here. So the UTC time right now, or the Zulu hour time, is 21:55. Typically, whenever you're filing a flight plan, it will give you the current time plus 15 to get off the ground. I always tend to bump this up a little bit myself. And to do that, you click on the little clock icon over here in the corner. And we're going to depart at 22. And we're going to go ahead and make it 25, right? Click on the close button and you'll see that it has updated our departure time now as 22:25 Zulu times when we need to get out of here. Do not depart early and try not to arrive or depart late. We do get reputation hits if we are consistently screwing up our departure times. Not only that, but we get fined also. If we depart too soon, the airline gets a penalty. for doing that. So be sure you are leaving plus or minus 15 minutes from your actual departure time, and try to arrive at your destination no more than plus or minus 15 minutes to the actual arrival time, estimated arrival time. We're going to be in the air for 4 hours today, and that should be all the information we need. When you first joined Newsky and you set up your account, you should have linked your account through the profile menu settings to your Navigraph. If you haven't done that, be sure you are linked to Navigraph before you click the book flight button, because it needs you to have your account linked so that it can log you in. After that, you just click book flight, and boom, it brings you back to your My Flights logbook, and it shows you your next flight is scheduled and ready to go. All you need to do next here is click on this clipboard icon if you're ready to file on SimBrief. If you screwed something up, now's your chance to delete the flight by clicking the trash can icon and get rid of it. And there are additional actions here for reviewing flight information about the flight. Hopefully you haven't forgotten already, because you literally just filed the flight, 5 seconds ago, or prepared it. So we're just going to click on the clipboard, and that will immediately open up SimBrief. It files it for you automatically, builds all the route maps for you. And at the bottom down here, that is a yellow warning message saying we're going to be overweight for this flight. So you can attempt to go and edit this flight. That is one of the things you can do. By clicking on the eyeball icon, you can come down here, click edit. This will actually open up SimBrief directly, and you can come down here and try to adjust all of your weights and balances. I have found that that is problematic. It doesn't really solve the problem, because there's some kind of weird glitch. I didn't quite understand it, but the developer of Newsky says it's beyond his control to fix. It is a SimBrief problem. But you'll notice that our zero fuel weight that is being filed from our paperwork was 164,646, which there it is. That is exactly what we filed for, right? You'll notice that the max value capable is 166,669. We are well under that maximum weight, but for some reason, it keeps kicking back a we're overweight warning. So I don't bother with trying to modify this and then fetch the modified here. You can try, but you'll be messing with it quite a bit. I just find that it's much easier to go back to my flights and just delete it, remove it, and then we're going to go rebook. Scheduled for Solaris Airlines, KDFW. Scroll down. We're going to go fly. There's our Vancouver flight. I'm going to repick my A321 aircraft, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the cargo down in half. Let's take it down to 20 units here. And then we'll set our departure time again to 22:25, close, book flight, and it's literally that simple to get a flight up and running. We're going to come over here. We're going to book again. And hopefully this time we get a clean bill of health from the load master at SimBrief, letting us know that the flight's good. We are still overweight. Are you kidding me? Oh, estimated zero weight below the required 6,646. See, there's some kind of weird glitch. And it's the Phoenix that's the biggest violator of this. I don't know why the Phoenix is such a big violator of this, but it is. It is annoying. All right. So, not to worry. We're going to do this a third time. We're going to delete the flight again. We're going to come over and we're going to book the flight again. We're going to resort to the next tactic. We're going to leave the cargo on board where it is. We're going to file for KDFW. We're going to come back down again. We're going to go to Vancouver again. We're going to choose the A321 again. This time I'm going to leave the cargo alone, and I'm going to pull the passenger load back. So let's take it down about 5 passengers. I usually find that taking it down 4 or 5 passengers usually is enough to clear the error on the overweight warning. So book it again. Book it, Dano. All right, and then we'll send it off to SimBrief again. Third time's a charm, right? Here we go. Fingers crossed. And we're still exceeding our maximum weight. That's hilarious. Wow. Okay, not to worry. I'm going to be honest. This part is a little annoying. It's a little annoying when it does this. There shouldn't be a weight problem here. This stuff should all match in a line. I don't know why. It's a Phoenix problem. It's a problem with the Phoenix and how it's set up in SimBrief. So we're gonna have to remove the flight again. We're gonna get it right. It's trial and error for right now. Until I discover a better way, it's just trial and error. So we're gonna book another flight again. We're gonna go again. We're gonna do this all over again. I can't believe it's doing this to me. I knew it would do this. I knew it would do this while making the training video. I knew it was going to do this. It couldn't be simple. But this is good to show some of the problems here. All right, I'm going to take it down here. We only carry 210 people today. We're going to take 210 people with us today, which, kind of works out. One of the biggest complaints we had on FS Airlines, which was one of our previous programs that we used, book flight, people didn't like that the planes were always full, that they always had a full passenger schedule and that they always had full cargo. They didn't actually like that. They thought it was unrealistic. Well, that's been solved because as you can see here, I'm having to finagle the number of passengers being allowed aboard this aircraft in order to get a safe flight plan filed on SimBrief. There we go. Oopa! OFP fetched at the bottom of the screen. We are good to go. This aircraft is ready to fly. Oh, finally. Isn't it wonderful being a sim pilot? All right. So we got our paperwork filed and we're ready to rock and roll. You can actually come in here now and take a look at your sim brief. And here's some cool stuff. You can actually pre-file on VATSIM, iVeo, Pilot Edge, and POSCON right out of the Newsky app. That is a pretty cool, nice little feature. So the clock is ticking. We're at 22:03 Zulu hours. We're supposed to depart at 20:25. So here's where we would rush to get the simulator up and online. And I want to show you something real quick, though. I'm going to come down here. I actually have the Newsky app running in the background right here. As you can see, I was not exaggerating at the beginning of this video. It is an exact clone, basically, of the website. Everything I just did on the website, you can actually do here through the app. All right. So if you don't want to deal with the website, you can just load up the app directly and do all of your booking right here and look at your airlines and look at your flight log and everything through here. I tend to use the website because I have a very particular order in which I like my applications to start up. I don't like to have any apps running. That's Say Intentions, Elevatex, my tracking software, the app here, Rex Atmos. I don't let anything start with my simulator until I'm in the actual flight deck of the aircraft I'm going to fly at the airport that I'm departing from. And then, as you can see here on my toolbar, then I start turning on Say Intentions, Navigraph, Elevatex, Rex, and so on and so forth, going across the bottom here, turning my stuff on. So that's why I don't have the app running at the time here. So the only thing you need to do, once I'm not going to load up the sim because unfortunately I don't have time to do a flight. But the only thing you need to do from here is get into the flight deck of your aircraft, make sure you're sitting in the aircraft, you're ready to go, and make sure you have already filled up the aircraft and already have all the passengers on board and that your weights and balances are already set per your operational flight plan from SimBrief. Once all that's set, before you start your pushback, then you're going to want to click this button right here, start this flight. Now, right now I can't start it because it's saying it's waiting for the sim connection, which there isn't one right now because I don't have the sim running. But right now you can see there's a big old no button on top of it. This will turn into a little pointer though saying, yes, you can actually start the flight. And then boom, you click it. Once you do that, you'll see a new menu option appear above the home menu option here that says logging, and that lets you know that your flight's good to go. And from there, it's going to continue to log all the way. During your entire flight, everything you do will be scrutinized. How you take off, how you land, the way you treat the aircraft en route. Did you turn your lights off and on? Did you turn your beacon lights off and on when you were supposed to? All that stuff's going to get tracked for you, and it all culminates in the end in what your final score is going to be. And you'll get a full breakdown once you land on the ground of everything that you lost points on, and then how much revenue that you made on that flight. Um, and when you land at the arrival airport and you pull up to the gate, when you turn your red beacon light off, that triggers this app to automatically close your flight plan. But pay attention, because at the bottom of your flight simulator, you'll see a little blue box pop up saying this flight is completed, and there'll be a little close button next to it. Click that close button. Don't forget to click that close button while you're in the simulator. That will shut this down. If you forget to do it there, it'll be available also in the app up here in the upper right hand corner. All right. Either way, be sure you close your flight plan. But never fear, this is really cool about Newsky. If you forget to close your flight plan, if you press the X button here and shut down the app before closing it, it will automatically close the flight plan for you within 20 minutes of the app being closed. So you won't actually lose the flight. It'll actually save it for you. This is really, really nice if you like land at an airport and your sim locks up and freezes, or you crash the desktop while you're taxiing to the gate, something stupid like that. I mean, hands up, anybody who's had that happen to them before. I've had that happen dozens and dozens of times to me in the past. What's nice is, as long as it says that your flight status in your flight log here, right here under the status, as long as it says the words landed right here, it's going to close that flight plan as a completed flight plan for you within 20 minutes. Now, if you lose the flight and you can't restore it, because you can restore, right? If you crash while you're en route, let's say you're 100 miles away from your destination and you suddenly crash the desktop for whatever reason, if you had flight restore turned on in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can technically click the restore button and then click the restore flight button inside the Newsky application, right? And it will pick up from where you left off, and you'll be able to complete the flight and it will count. But if you can't do that, or if you're like me, you don't run with that stuff running, because I tend to think that causes more problems than good. And it definitely is dependent upon the payware aircraft that you're using, how good the restore function is. Some of them are better than others, and some of them are just don't even bother trying. It's just going to screw everything up. I don't bother. If the sim crashes on me, I don't try to restore the flight. I just exit out of the Newsky app and I sit in sadness and I drink a beer, crying, because I just lost hours of my life for no reason. What happens here in your flight logbook is it'll say that, hey, it's waiting for you to resume the flight, and it will give you a countdown timer that you'll be able to hover the mouse over. It tells you how many minutes you have to get the flight restored and flying again before it's going to consider you crashed the desktop. When it does the crash to desktop thing, it will turn where this trash can icon is, it'll put a red X there. And that's basically the sadness button. That means cancel my flight and get rid of it from my logbook permanently. So, and you have to, unfortunately, if you have a crash like that, you do have to wait 10 minutes for that to clear. There's no way to speed that up. It's a nice little feature that allows you the opportunity to attempt to restore your flight. And typically anyway, if you do crash the desktop and you don't want to restore the flight and you want to start over from scratch, it takes about 10 minutes to get your sim up and running anyway. So by the time you're back in the flight deck getting ready to take off again, your little cancel icon should eventually appear and you can just cancel out of that. And that's about it. Newsky software, easy to use. Play around with it, have fun with it, and we'll see you in the skies. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop a question on our Discord or go into the Newsky Discord and drop questions there in their question answer center, and somebody will get along with you shortly and answer your questions for you. That's going to be it from me here, and we thank you for your attention to this briefing. Have fun, everybody, and we'll see you on the tarmac.